The first thing he felt was cold, specifically ice. He tried to move, but nothing responded. After a moment or two, he found that his anger had welled within him, and he was yelling at his body to move, with little response. Now that he really focused on it, he couldn't even see himself. Were his eyes closed? Was he asleep? He tried to focus on the events that got him here to this dark, dank cavern. Gregor couldn't put it together. He couldn't remember what he had done in the moment before he felt the cold. He couldn't remember anything, really. He concentrated on his mission. He had a mission, didn't he? Did he? Who was with him on that mission, or was he alone? His anger planted seeds of despair that quickly sprouted. Were there people in his life, or was he alone? Gregor sucked in a giant gulp of air, or thought he did. He decided to grab hold of one solid object he knew in his life. Anything like a sword, or knife, or tree, or a mountain would do. As he thought these ideas, though, he realized that he could not create them. He would wordlessly voice an object, like sword, but as he came to the end of that word, the thing dematerialized down some trail in the echoes that always seemed to lead away from him. His environment was whispering to him. He was alone. He wasn't a thing at all, but a random conglomerate of concept, a half-thought that someone gave up on before reaching a conclusion. Something not worth the time or effort that logic required. Was he a person at all? What kind of question was that? He knew it was dark. He knew it was cold. Gregor knew. And because he knew, he also knew that he must be alive. Well, at least he was alive at one point. There were memories even if he couldn't place them. What was he doing the moment before the cold? Why couldn't he get out of the cave? At that moment, Gregor grasped a hold of the quiet stranger that he hadn't noticed before. The nuance in the background came to the forefront like an immense boulder rolling down a mountain. What if he was dead? This wasn't a cave. It wasn't cold because the wind blew. There was none. Nor was it cold because this place felt no light from the sun. It never did and never would. This stranger was a silent watcher, now a subtle whisper. You no longer exist, it said. As Gregor allowed this thought to become true, his whole world changed. Off in the distance a light shone, a speck really. It grew into a beam, starting out like a tunnel. It rushed toward Gregor with alarming speed, and as it approached from the front, the darkness receded behind him, like a vanquished army seeking the safety that only distance can provide. The cold left and took the fear with it. Gregor's world was now filled with the most wonderful warmth. He was surrounded in silver and glass. Everything shined as bright as the dawn sun does on crisp mornings where it beats back the bitterness of the winter. The illusion of help and home in the wilderness that seeks to suck a soul of life. Illusion? Was this even an illusion? Gregor found in his heart there was a quiet room that spoke to him, more in feeling than in thought. This place had to be real. It was too warm. There was too much peace for it not to exist. Listen to the heart and accept such a wonderful existence here in a world full of soft silver and the translucent truth that glass provided. There is no blemish here, as if crafted by God himself. This thought of God and his creations was pleasant to Gregor. It was tangible, as if Gregor could scrape it right off his skin and show it to others. God didn't make ugly things. He didn't make weak things. He was perfect. We make ourselves ugly. We make ourselves weak. We create in us the monster we fear and scare with. Here Gregor looked down, and for the first time he could even remember, he saw his hands. His two massive hands stared blank, palms up. He could see the creases in those gnarled fists, rivers of anger that had destroyed so much, taken so much from men who were no different than he. He saw the flush of red that spoke of the blood underneath, and heard the folds of joints weary in age. Gregor had hands that could feel and work and live just like any other man. He was a thing, like all things know they are in the deepest part of their hearts. Maybe he wasn't dead. At this thought, Gregor noticed something else that now came at him. A great gray curtain, almost a wall of rain that was not falling, but softly approaching from the east. It sauntered up to his spot in this world of light and truth, and stopped. Not more than 5 paces from where he was standing, this mist of gray just stopped and waited. It spoke no words, which surprised Gregor. He felt drawn to the curtain and took a pace in its direction. No, the heart whispered. Here is a light you have never known, it said, a peace you can feel nowhere else. Now his head, or thoughts really, moved within him. But what of adventure, it asked? What of being more than you are? Of fighting for the right, for the just? There was nothing here for him, a man of such burden. What was silver and glass to a man clad in steel and armed with wisdom?